Hey, today we're going to be making this thing. This is a flail. It's probably the most horrifying medieval weapon, at least in my mind. If you were on the receiving end, obviously. If you saw your enemy whirling it around over its head with his eyes locked on you, certain death was in your future. You knew it. I think it just looks cool, but more importantly, we're going to learn a lot of techniques, a couple at least, that I haven't ever taught before in any other lessons. The chain, obviously, I have, but if I'm being honest, I love chains and I love making chains. So expect tons of chain related tutorials in your future. Okay, let's have fun and learn some new techniques. I'm going to start with the handle, and I think you could make the handle just out of a cylinder. Totally fine. I want to cover as many tools as I can. I'm going to use the Lathe tool. So if you follow me over to the top right here, wherever it is in your tools, just tap on the Lathe tool. On the left tool strip, you'll also need to pick either curve or path. I'm going to start with curve, so tap curve. This center line will appear, and what the Lathe tool does is that if you draw a profile shape, and I'll do that in just a moment, it's going to take that profile shape and make a solid 3D object by spinning that profile shape 360 degrees. So let's make the handle right now. So all I need to do is I'm going to start with my pencil on the line, and I'm just going to make some long handle here. And then I think I'm going to try to put a little spike at the bottom. So automatically, like I can move it around now but you can see that it's created this 360 shape out of it. It's going to be very smooth, like it's attempted to make every vector point within my path a rounded vector point. If you want to make it sharp, you can just tap. You'll see that the dot turns black and it becomes very sharp. The angle becomes sharp. I'm going to do that for all of them just to help me visualize better. And then I'm going to go back and decide what I want to make a little more curved. Okay, this was supposed to be just like a spike, but I forgot that it's going to spin around. So now it's like a disc. So I'm going to just take that down. If you want to get rid of a point within your path, grab it, drag it onto another point. You're going to see the two dots turn red. And then when you let go, they merge. So I want to do the same for the handle. I actually just want this to be a straight handle. So I'm just going to get rid of those points. Again, I'm just going to tap on all of these. I wish I could just set that before I start drawing and tell it that I want hard-edged, like all the things to be. So this is just helping me understand the shape better. And I'm going to come back. This is a live path, and we can just return to it and make adjustments later. So I think that's good. What we're going to need is sort of a point here where we have the hook. So the handle has a hook, and then that hook's connected to a chain. Then the spiked ball also will have a hook. So here at the top, this area up here, I'm going to want a little ring, a loop. So I'm going to use a torus. Come up to your scene menu, hit the add, hit torus. So here we're getting a good idea of what like the native scale of a primitive is. So that means my handle's pretty small. So I'm going to click on the tan outer ring, the most outside ring here, and scale it up. It doesn't have to be like the ring is going to be pretty small. And then I'm going to bring this down. Also, what I want to do is I'm going to move my pivot point. The pivot point is where, if you turn on your gizmo, where the gizmo is located. And you can come over here in the left strip, tap on pivot. You could hit center, and it centers between the sort of overall mass of your geometry. Or you could also just grab the gizmo and move it where you want. I'm going to move it to the top because if you move the pivot point to the top or bottom or wherever, when you scale, it scales from that point outward. So you just need to tap pivot one more time to turn it off. Now watch when I scale. The pivot point is sort of the stationary point. So that's what I want. And I'm going to tap on my torus, my ring here, and I have the gizmo active, and I'm going to come up to snap, which is right here. Turn on snap. I have it at 90 degrees already, and that's what I want. If you don't have it at 90 degrees, just tap on it, and then you can type in 90. That makes it easy. I have to just grab this red ring, pull it down once, and it's already perfectly in line. I think I accidentally tapped on wireframe, which is down here. Wireframe on and off. Useful in some cases. So I'm going to embed that shape in here. That looks good to me. I want to point out one thing too. If you look at your shape and you're like, well, I have to increase the resolution of my model because it's very faceted, meaning you can see the faces that make up this cylinder shape. You don't have to. There's a smooth shading option. If you come up to material, turn on this tab, and then scroll down to smooth shading and just turn it on. And then if you take a look at the model here, as I turn on and off. It does a great job of smoothing it out. You can do that with the ring too. You have to do it with every piece of geometry. So now those are very smooth. It's even helped that really sharp edged profile shape that I made. But so that looks good. You may want to decide on changing the thickness of your ring. Like maybe you want it smaller. If you want it chunkier, like the ring radius, the thickness of the ring to be bigger, you have to come down to gizmo, turn off gizmo, and then you'll see this control. You may think this is just a scale control, but look at how chunky it gets. It gets like real thick, and then the wider I go, it gets real thin. So use this to adjust your thickness, and then come back to your gizmo, and then you can readjust your see how fat it is now. So I don't want it that much. I'm going to bring it down to roughly that. And then I'm going to scale this, embed it a little more like that. I think that's good. We'll just put it like, I'll make the connector connect perfectly with like the center of that. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to the chain. I can almost use the same ring to create the chain. So I'm going to go up to here, scene menu again. I'm going to clone the ring that I just made, the torus. There are about 3 different clones. Like look at where we are right now. There's a clone here, and if you tap on the 3 dots, there's a clone inside here. There are some differences, but for just cloning a single object, these all do the same thing. So you can choose any one of them. I'll choose this one. And now we can move this up. This is still alive. There's still a live path. I keep tapping everything with my palm. I have this like drawing glove. I'm going to throw it on real quick to help me stop turning on everything. And yeah, now I just draw my pencil. Okay. All right, so I think I might want to increase the thickness of the chain link. We're going to make the chain like a normal modern day chain link. So I'm going to turn off my gizmo. I'm going to thicken this up just slightly. I'm going to increase this. And now I need to make sure that my camera's in the front angle. So I'm going to come up to here and just tap front once. And if I tap and hold, you'll see a lock up here. That means that I can no longer rotate. I can pan around and I can scale, but I can't change the perspective. So we're going to need to validate this shape. So you should be somewhat sure of the thickness of your ring, like that you're pretty set on it. I think I'm good with it. So I'm going to hit validate, which is right here. And the reason why I have to do that is because when it's not validated, I don't have access to my mask tools, mask and Selmask. I'm going to choose Selmask, and then I'm going to come over to this left strip, and I'm going to pick rectangle. And now I'm going to just drag, like marquee select my just half. I'm going to try to find the halfway point of my ring. And I'm just guessing here. I forgot. I have to turn off symmetry. That's up here at the very top. I need to turn off this symmetry off. And now I can make my mask selection of just half of it. So I don't know if I nailed that, but we'll go with this one. Okay, so the darker half is now protected. I can't manipulate that shape. I can't distort it. But the lighter half of this, I can manipulate. So I'm going to go down to my gizmo tool, and now I can just drag. And since half of it's pinned, I can drag out this chain link. I'm going to turn off my gizmo, and I'm going to come up here and hit clear all on my mask. If you didn't see that, I'm going to undo. So this menu up here, this one that I'm opening and closing, there's a clear all button. Clear it, and there you go. So I'm going to want to rotate my chain link to sort of orient itself to the loop on my handle. So I still have my snap turned on at 90 degrees. I'm going to grab the blue rotation handle, turn it up. So now we're going to add a repeater, and now we're going to come up to our scene menu right here, add, and then down here we have repeaters, and we're going to choose curve. And this is where the fun making a chain. If you saw my chain chomp video, you already know this process. Okay. So we have 2 chain links now, and when you turn on a repeater, it gives you the ability to add like as many multipliers of your object along a path. So if you look up here, the count is 2. We have 2 chain links. If I tap and drag, you can see. Let me see if you ever want to change the color of your background of Nomad. It's in this like background image thing. Wasn't necessarily intuitive that that's where it would be. I'm gonna go like full black just so we can see better. Okay, so that you can see here all the chain links. I wouldn't worry about lining them up perfect. You do want them to sort of feel natural and connected. So they're overlapping a little bit. We also want to come up and tap on a twist. So twist is right there. So watch as I tap a few times on twist. There are 3 modes. There's 3 lines. There's also an off mode. We want to do 2 lines. That gives us a handle down here and a handle up here that's pink. And if you grab one of them, just one of them, and twist, you can see we have a very cool chain. And then the bottom one I was saying, you like don't worry about aligning it because we can twist it there too. The whole goal of this is to obviously make the chain feel natural and have, each one sort of offset by almost like 90 degrees. This still feels too stiff, obviously, but you can grab the path and add, just tap on it and add points. And this is where you get to really make it feel like chain-like. You can also just decide you want to make a really long chain, and then what will happen is your chain links become disconnected from one another. And that's when you can just come up to the count and just add more chain links. You can have a really long chain however you want. The only thing I would advise is don't put too many points that are close together, because if you make like a curve like this, the rest of your chain will look natural, but then you'll have one chain link that's sort of like they're embedded into one another. So you just have to just finesse it till it looks right. Like here, I'm probably pushing my luck by putting too many curves too close together. Okay, so we have that. You can rotate around and then move your points in all kinds of directions to really add like a lot of dramatic like movement to it. Yeah, and then the only thing you have to really worry about is, does it look right? Do I need to add one more chain link? I'm at 20, 21. I'm okay with that right there. Okay, so we need also another loop that's connected to the steel ball. So I'm going to tap on our loop down here, and I'm just going to match that one exactly. So we can come up to the clone on this side, clone it. And sometimes your gizmo doesn't show up, so I have to turn it off and then back on, and then I'll find it. Grab the green arrow, drag it up. So we have a loop there. We could just drag our loop over to here. So I have my gizmo tool visible up here by my loop, and I'm going to now go add sphere, and the ball is going to be added where my gizmo is. So that's very handy. I'm going to move this up. I'm also going to scale this up because I want a nice heavy steel ball at the end of my flail. And this is all preference. Just decide what you want and go for it. Okay, I think that looks pretty cool. And now I need to do the best part of this, add the spikes all around the ball, which is what makes this thing look horrifying to be hit with. So here's what I like to do. This is where I'm going to teach you 2 ways to do this, and I want to talk about the best use cases for this. So insert is probably a tool that you've never understood just by the name insert. I think insert, and I'm like, well, maybe it lets me import a shape or insert a graphic or something. No, insert is probably not the best name for it, although I don't have a great replacement name for that. So what we want to do is over here, you'll see insert, tap on insert. And just like a lot of these tools, on the left tool strip are all your options for that tool. So insert lets you insert other primitive objects. And that doesn't mean like the same thing as add and then add a primitive objects. This is special because insert will automatically snap to other objects in your scene. You know where I'm going with this. We want to put spikes on a ball. I'm going to look for the cone, and watch now when I tap on my sphere and drag, tap and drag. So I'm dragging gives me the ability to scale it. You may make a mistake and make it too big. Don't worry, you can change it after. Just get it roughly the size you want. So looking at this is not scary enough for me. I want it really spiky, and I want to play with, I want it to look like this. Like this thing's gonna just punch a hole right through me. So I want it like narrow and long and pointy. So that's good. There is a problem here though. If we zoom in, you can see there's a little gap that makes it feel like it wasn't necessarily welded well. Like it's especially apparent if you make this bigger, like wider. You can see it's like a party hat, like not sitting well. So it's good if you make it narrower, but you also want it to be sort of, what I really want is it's more I want it embedded in the, like bury it inside the ball. So I wouldn't say add them and then move them individually each time, like grab one and move it inside. There's a way to make this easier on yourself. And the way to do that is the pivot point. So with the gizmo turned on, you need to come over to pivot, which is right here, pivot. And all we're going to do is grab our green arrow and move it up. So we want to embed it about that far into the sphere. So I'm just moving it up just about here, and then just turn your pivot point off. And now I'm going to actually take this one and just move it to the side. This is just this is our reference one. The cool thing about insert is, watch this. It's whatever you tap can get inserted. I'm going to tap the ball and then add a ball to the ball. Undo, I'm going to tap the cone and add a cone. I'm going to tap the chain link and add a chain link, and then it blows up the chain link. So whatever shape you have floating around, you can tap on it. It's whatever the last thing you tapped on can be applied. So now that we've changed the pivot point, and I need to tap this, and then oops, I don't have my insert tool on. And then mistakes here. There we go. Okay, now that I add it, if we zoom in, we can see that it is connected well now to that. So here is the point at which you can make a decision. Do you want to free hand just add spikes at random wherever you want, like this? And look how easy this is. I just tap, and it's all like, if you pull too far, then it detaches. But if you have your pencil hovering over the sphere, it's gonna always stick to the surface. So this is cool. Like, you can make like Bowser's turtle shell and put a bunch of spikes on it. So you can do this by hand, and oops. And then also remember, like, this one doesn't have to be, you can move that off to the side. That was just like a reference one. Make sure that I have my insert tool selected. So I could just do it like this. I could hand add them all, and I could say, yeah, like that's pretty good. Like I'm ready to go. That works for me. You could be done. If you're someone who wants perfect symmetry and you want all the alignment of every spike to be the same distance between each other, then I have another way for you. One last thing about the insert tool. Once you've added them and you let go, like if I go back to select this one, let's see if I can, well, actually, I don't want to do that. I can't like grab the gizmo tool and move it. It's no longer going to try to snap to the surface of my sphere. So the best thing to do is just delete that one. Just hit delete and then hit insert and just come back and tap on a cone and then just re-add it. That's the way that I would do it. Is just keep doing that. So I actually did a fairly good job of spreading them out this time, but I'm going to show you an even more perfectly aligned. So I'm going to grab all my cones and delete them. So I'm just check marking them all, and then I'm going to hit delete up here. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to try to find the front camera view. Front. I'm going to tap and hold and lock it. I want to make sure that my gizmo is off. So this is gizmo on, this is gizmo off. I want gizmo off, and I'm going to go up to the scene menu. I'm going to hit, my palm being not helpful again. Scene menu, and then I'm going to hit add, and then I'm going to hit the cone here. So, this is a common problem. If you have your path selected and you add something, it's going to add a cone to the path. So I'm going to select something that is not the path or not the curve repeater. So I'll just select the top object. Now I'm going to hit add and then cone. Okay, so the cone is down here at our world origin. I did that because I want the cone to be I want it to be in the native XY position and the native rotation, like all at the 0 point. If you look up here, if you come up to this and tap it, my rotation is all zeros. Like I didn't want my cone to come in partially rotated like that. So I like that the rotation's perfectly zeroed out. And now I'm going to stretch and move my cone to turn off my gizmo, change this. I'm going to make the point roughly the shape that I want it to be, and I'm going to rest it like a party hat right on the surface of my sphere. Actually, I'm not going to leave it perfectly on the surface. Forgot. This one, I want to take it and I want to embed it down inside of my sphere. And now we're going to do the pivot point thing, but just slightly different. So I'm going to hit pivot here. And for this trick, I want to move my pivot point to the center of the sphere. And you're going to say, like, do I have to eyeball it? It's hard to know exactly where the center. My trick is that I shrink it down until my sphere aligns almost perfectly with my pivot circle. This is my pivot circle. So that helps me kind of like, and it has to just roughly be right. Okay, so that's roughly right. So just come back over to the pivot, turn it off. And now when we rotate, I have my camera locked. So I'm going to tap again and unlock it. So now I'm going to move my cone onto the surface. And now, I need to turn off snap 90 degrees. But now, like, as I spin it around, you can see it's going to always be magnetically stuck to, it's not really it's because look at where my pivot point is at the center of my sphere. So that is the trick. And now we need to go and just turn on a repeater. So I'm going to come up to scene, add, down to repeaters, and I'm going to hit radial. So we have this green line, this green circle with 4 dots on it. If you look up here, radial Y is also green and it has 4. The reason why you're not really seeing anything happen is because the 4 are all stacked right on top of the same cone. So if I tap on radial Z, the blue, you can see now I have 4 spikes. The problem will be that one of my spikes is interfering with my chain link and my loop. So I'm going to go to my gizmo rotation and just kind of move it out of the way. So I'm just rotating, and what I'm holding right now is this curve, this radial repeater. So red text. The red text is the repeater, and then the cone is the original cone shape. So we want the red text when we rotate. So find that, and now we can play with how many spikes do we want. I'm gonna go with 6. we're not done yet. So you could do all kinds of rotations. You could say like, I'm going to rotate it this way, bring it back down. I'm just making, the only thing I'm trying to do right now is keep it out of the way of my loop and my chain link. Okay, so I have 6 that way, and then these are perfectly spaced. You know, I didn't have to do it by hand. They're perfectly spaced. And then the next trick is we're going to take this repeater of 6 and repeat the repeater. So I'm going to select my repeater, which is the red text, and I'm going to go to add, down to repeaters, and add another radial repeater. And here, what's happening is I have that ring of 6 repeating 4 times now on a different axis. So if I hide, let me move this over here. I'm just toggling the visibility on and off of the second repeater. So we have a cone, we have the first repeater, which is repeating 6 times. And then I'm taking that ring of 6 and repeating that, if I tap on it, repeating that 4 times. And let me show you what happens if I repeat it a bunch of times. So if I repeat it 9 times, then it's doing this crazy thing. So I'm going to bring it down to maybe 6 and 6. So here, they're all perfectly spaced. You can decide how many you may want. Maybe you want 4 and 6. I'm going to do 6 and 6. And then, let me see, 6 and 6. Well, 3 is kind of, okay. I think maybe 3. So 3 on the second repeater, the topmost repeater, 6 on the original one. And then what I like to do is just take my rotation. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I have my top, I had my middle one. I want to make sure my top radial repeater is selected. And then I'm just going to rotate this around till I like because I think I want, you don't have to do this part if you were happy with where, oops, I'm not rotating now, I'm moving. If you liked where it was there, like how it was here, then you're fine. I'm going to play with it just a little bit more. I'm just looking for something that feels a little, I think that's good right there. I hope that was clear. That one's a little bit hard to explain, or maybe I'm not great at that. So here we have our flail, and it's glorious. Okay. So this could be, I can rename this. I'm tapping on the 3 dots and hitting name, and I'm going to say like a spiked ball. And then where's our chain link? Okay, so I'm gonna move this closer to, this is our handle. The lathe was our handle. This was our bottom loop, and then this was our chain link. This torus was the bottom. Okay, I'm just trying to put it in the order of, okay, so I'm gonna grab the spiked ball, or the spikes, and then the sphere is the ball, and then the loop, and I'm going to scale that up. I'm going to tap on my gizmo, and I'm going to grab this ring, and I'm just going to play with the size of this. Like, I don't know if I want it. Maybe I had it right already. It's good, I think. We're going to go with that. Okay, we can have some fun again with radial repeaters. Yeah, I'm going to make sure gizmo's off. I'm going to go up here, hit add. I'm going to do another spike. This is just like, you can stop right now, but I'm going to add another spike, a cone shape. And then I accidentally, my palm is wreaking havoc on my project. Okay, there it is. I just need to move it over. I'm going to go to snap, turn on snap 90 degrees. I'm going to turn it sideways. I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to turn off gizmo, and I'm going to shrink and here's where I want to put it. I want to put a bunch of, I just want this thing to be just the scariest killing weapon ever. I'm gonna put spikes around the top of the handle. You never know which part of the flail you want to destroy somebody with. So I'm gonna embed this in there, and I'm gonna come up to the top. I need to turn off, I'm gonna turn off my chain. I'm gonna turn off all these things. Because I want to go to the top view. Okay, we have our cone selected. I'm gonna go to pivot, and I'm gonna move this to the center, roughly the center of my handle. I think that's good. I'm gonna turn off pivot. I can grab the red ring handle and spin around. I need to turn off my snap, but now I can see that that's gonna work out just fine. Okay, and then we're gonna add another repeater. We're gonna come up to scene, add, down to repeaters, radial, and we need to do along the red axis. We hit the radial X here. So we have 4 spikes. Let's make it like, I don't know why, 7. We're gonna go 7. So boom, we've got that. I like it. I almost want to I'm going to clone this whole. So with the red text selected, I'm going to hit clone right here. This is where the clone difference happens. So I'm going to use this clone. This is the one that I want. And I'm going to drag that extra set and bring it down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale, hard to see if I make it smaller. I'm going to grab this outer ring, shrink this one down, and move that up here, right there. And I want to make these ones just a slight bit chunkier. So I'm going to just tap on one of the cones. And as long as your gizmo's off, you'll see this handle here. You can make these a little, I'll make them stubbier too. Fatter and stubbier. Okay, so we have, spikes. You can never have enough spikes. Okay, so like I said, I can still play with my handle shape. Go with like another more scary part. So here, we're good to go. I can turn back on my chain and all that stuff. Oops, I was check marking, not turning on the visibility. Turn on the visibility of all these things. And look at this. Let me just turn off that. Let's take a look at it by itself. Let me turn off the gizmo. Also, turn off the check marks. Let's take a look. Beautiful. One more thing I might add. This is going to be useful when you paint it. I'm going to do a little bit of painting right now. I said, let's do a short video. This is not going to be short. Sorry about that. So I'm going to tap my handle. I'm going to go to my camera, make it the front. I'm going to hold and lock it. I think that my handle fairly straight. I'm going to come up to scene, add, and I'm going to do a cylinder. My cylinder is up here. I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to stretch this. I'm using the green dot to stretch it upward. Okay. I'm going to add a separate handle because I'm going to make this like a leather handle. I have this trick to help sort of round out the edges, which will help make it feel like wrapped material. Come up to the 3 dots while you have your cylinder selected. Tap on the 3 dots. Come down to Division X, lower that a bit. We'll go to like 12. Come up to Post Subdivision, increase Post Subdivision to like 4. And now if we look at our, interesting that it's not centered here, but that adds to it. It's a medieval weapon. Who's looking for precision? So I made it thick, but it's got a little bit of rounding. If I pull this out to show you what it looks like, you see how it's a little bit rounded. That helps it feel a little more leathery. I want to do one more thing to this, and that is I'm going to keep the, let's see how, I'm trying to think about how to do this properly. I'm going to go to the tube tool real quick. Tube over here on the right tool panel. I'm going to go to path on the left tool strip, and I'm going to tap and drag upward. And what happened there? Where did it go? Okay, so tap and drag. I'm gonna hit the green dot. I'm going to tap on my gizmo and bring this over a bit. And really all I'm doing is looking for alignment. I'm trying to kind of make it parallel. I'm gonna unlock my camera just by tapping it, turning off the lock. And this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna take this, shrink it down. And what I wanna do is gizmo. I'm gonna come over to pivot and center this. So I hit pivot, center, and then I'm going to hit pivot and turn it off. Okay. Now I'm coming up to my translation up here. And I'm going to tap on the translation for X, Y, and Z. Set it to 0. Maybe not. I'm going to set it for the red and blue 0. And that should put it in the center of my cylinder. Okay. We're going to also come down to, let's see. I'm going to come over to the 3 dots. We still have that little tube I made. 3 dots. Come down to spiral, turn on spiral, and then we're going to do twist angle. I know it's hard to see. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to move this out so we can see it. 3 dots, turned on spiral. We're going to spin this, like a corkscrew. We're going to increase the radius. We're going to take the scale, move it down a little bit. And now let's go back up to, this top gizmo settings, and let's set translation to 0. And there we go. This one, blue to 0. Okay, so what we've created is just kind of like an extra detail to the grip. So I'm going to tap on our tube, which I think is still selected, go back into our 3 dot menu. So 3 dots, down to spiral again, and we're just going to play with the radius and the twist angle. What I want is I want to come down to gizmo, turn off gizmo, and I want to, well, actually leave gizmo on. And I know I'm not explaining a lot of these things, which is bad of me, but you see how my gizmo is it's not angled. It's sort of at a offset rotation angle. If you come up to align and turn on align, you can see how it snaps. And I'm going to grab the green dot and stretch this just slightly upward. And I'm just trying to hide the ends. Okay, so here we go. And I think that looks pretty cool now. So let's color this real quick. Let's hide this and hide the gizmo. Okay, so let's tap on the tube. So this was the leather handle part. I was clearly doing some of this work ahead of time. So I'm going to tap on this. I don't want it too rough. I want a little bit of sheen to it, like that. I'm going to tap the spiral tube and also hit paint all. So I picked a color and I hit paint all. Let's tap that. Let's try to just slightly offset the color. Paint all, 2 different colors. I want this to be like an iron, metal iron color. So we're going to go to like a charcoal. We're going to rough this up a little bit, bring in metalness pretty high, maybe all the way rough. We want it to feel like I'm looking at this ball right here and like how much shine is on it. I want it to look like a fairly worn. The real thing that would sell this is adding scratches and dents and all those kind of things and rust to this, but let's do that. Okay, so now I want to play with my background color because now that I'm coloring it this color, it's going to be hard to see all it. So I went into my background and I clicked on my color here and I'm changing the color. Okay, so we're going to apply that black to all the spikes. You can choose to have those be a different color too. Maybe they're a little more, a little more like that. Paint all. Okay, so like that. Getting to our chain, what we forgot to do, maybe we didn't. No, I think we're okay. We might have forgotten to do it on the sphere. I'm gonna tap the ball. Remember that trick where we went up to the material menu and we turned on smooth shading? I'm gonna tap on the cones, tap on material menu and go down to smooth shading. Let's make sure our spikes down here. Yep, tap on those. Smooth shading, just make our leather grip. I know, this is tedious, right? These spikes, just make sure smooth shading is on. Okay, I think we're good. Everything's smooth shaded. Now we're gonna do, I think this obviously should match the black metal. So I'm coming into the paint and then I'm tapping the eyedropper, the eyedrop color. And then I'm gonna paint all and I'm gonna come up to the steel ball here, keep it the same, keep the loop also that, paint all. Haven't decided if I think I'm gonna do the spikes on this ball, eyedropper, and pick the color of our spikes down at the bottom, paint all. Let's see what our chain link looks like in the same. Pretty cool. I might make these. Let's see if it needs a little more shine. I don't want it to be too shiny. This feels it doesn't feel medieval. I like it to be dulled. Okay, paint all. I'm not sure that I love the spikes being a different color, at least not for the spiked ball. Eyedropper, pick that. We'll lower the roughness. Paint all. Pick this one, paint all. Yeah, I like it. So let's try to, I'm just gonna increase our lighting, rotate our lighting. Let's take a look. Okay, all right. Let's do turntable on this thing. There is our flail. Pretty cool. So really, I just thought of like a lot of techniques and what would be the coolest thing to make using those techniques. And I thought, why not the ultimate killing weapon here? I think if I use this weapon, like the only person dying is me. No one else has to worry. The enemy would probably like throw this weapon to me and be like, go for it, knowing full well that I'm just gonna implant that spiked ball on my own head. So I don't know if I would even try to swing this thing, but it looks awesome. Cool. I hope you guys had fun making that, and I hope you got a lot out of the techniques that were involved. Thanks for watching. Keep making things, and I'll see you next time.